Hey, what's up, guys? Happy 4th of July. It's Manu Maniac 93 here. And today I am going to be making this video reviewing and ranking Christopher Nolan's Batman Trilogy movies. So just want to start off and say that I'm a huge Batman fan, and I'm also a big fan of all of Christopher Nolan's films, including Inception, The Prestige, and Memento. So I've been wanting to make this video for a while and just give my opinions on all three of these movies and which ones do I prefer over the others. Background is pretty important. I am a Batman fan. I'm a huge fan of the animated series. I have not read a single comic book in my life, so I am just going to be reviewing these films just as a regular moviegoer and not as a comic book fan. And so I just want to review these movies because I'm not a huge fan of the Tim Burton Batman films, and especially not the Joel Schumacher films. Before I begin, I'd like to make a shout out to one of the guys on YouTube who I'm subscribed to. His name is Mr. Tardy's11. Great guy. He's got a lot of reviews of different movies and TV shows on his YouTube channel, and I enjoy watching his videos. So if you haven't seen his channel and his rankings and reviews of different movies, go check that out. I'll post a link below this video. So let's get started. I'm going to talk about... I'm going to put this in order from my least favorite film to my favorite film. I just want to say that, it's not really fair to rank these movies because all three of these movies feel completely different from each other, and all of them are great films, so maybe it's not fair to rank them, but I'm going to talk about them in order from my least favorite to my favorite. So starting with my third favorite film, it's going to be this one, Batman Begins. This is the one that started it all. This one is a good film for me. It's not impressive, but it's a good, solid film. But I was pretty excited to see this when it came out in theaters, knowing where the Batman franchise had been before with the Joel Schumacher films. They made Batman Forever, which was not very good, and then they made Batman and Robin, which is arguably the worst film ever made. So Batman Begins came out in 2005, I believe, and it was a new take on Batman, but it was a real interesting take. It started off as an origin story showing how he has this need to fight crime and corruption in Gotham after his parents' death, and it goes really well into detail in that at the beginning, showing his childhood and how his parents got murdered. And then him meeting Henry Ducard, which is Ra's al Ghul, and they start their journey there. What I really liked about this film was Liam Neeson's performance as Ra's al Ghul. I was not looking forward to seeing Ra's al Ghul in this film, mainly because he's not a well-known villain, but I felt that Liam Neeson really stole the show in this film, and he just kills it and gives a wonderful performance. I like the tone of it. It's a very dark horror film type tone to it, and it's very gritty, and it's just got a great story, but it's just a great way to start off a great trilogy by giving his origin story, starting him off as a kid, and really going through his motivation to want to become Batman. So it does that really well. And of course, I think the first half of the film is more enjoyable than the second half, but the second half is still very intense. Of course, they introduced the tumbler, and that's always great to see. The tumbler on the roof, that whole action sequence with the tumbler is really nice too. And so it's just a good, solid film overall. It's not my favorite, but it was a great reboot to this franchise. Things I don't like about this film, Katie Holmes as Rachel Dawes. I didn't feel that she fit in well with the setting and the tone of this. She just seems too sweet, and she does not fit in well with this film. Also, the cinematography in this movie is not great at all. They really improve on that in The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. And of course, Scarecrow, people were going to have different opinions on it, but I didn't think that he was a good villain. I thought he was alright, but I didn't think he was great or all that compelling. I just felt that Liam Neeson really stole the show, and if it would have just been Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul in this film, that would have been better for me, but that's just my opinion. So that's my least favorite film, but it's a great film. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Please go see it if you haven't. My second favorite film, number 2 on my list, is this one, The Dark Knight Rises, the new one that came out in 2012. It's a very good movie. This movie came in with a lot of hype, and it had a lot to live up to after the success of The Dark Knight, and of course Heath Ledger's performance. How do you follow that up? But I think Tom Hardy as Bane did a really a good job. He did a pretty amazing job in this role. Of course, his acting was a lot of body language, his eyes and a lot of stuff like that. But I felt that he did really well. I think Christian Bale gives his best performance in this film by far. I didn't really care for his performance in Batman Begins, but that's just me. But I think he's really improved over the course of these movies in the trilogy. So I think this is his best movie by far. Really enjoy what they did with some of the supporting cast characters like Catwoman and John Blake, and then Talia al Ghul. I mean, they're really good roles as supporting cast members. The action in this film is pretty spectacular. They got a really tough and intense action sequence towards the end, where Batman and Bane are just slugging it out at City Hall, and they got a really nice setting where it's in the day, and then it's snow going on, and of course the fight scene between Bane and Bruce in the sewer is pretty amazing too. So that I really enjoyed the action sequences in that. Of course, they introduced the Bat in this one too. But what really got me was just the story of how they bring it. They bring it back full circle to Bruce Wayne. In Batman Begins, he talk about how he wants to be the symbol of hope, and Batman Begins is a very Batman-centric movie. Well, this one goes really deep into Bruce Wayne and his character, and you don't see too much of Batman, but I think it's good, and I think this is one of the compliments to the film, is that they really focus on Bruce Wayne a lot, and it's his story. He's rediscovering the will to live, and of course, he gets beaten a couple of times at the beginning. He has his leg broken, and then he's frustrated over the events and stuff of the Dark Knight, and then he comes back comes back to fight Bane in the sewers, and he gets beaten there, and then he has to climb up the pit, and that's one of the most inspirational and motivational scenes you'll ever see in a film, is him climbing out of the pit. So it was a really good and powerful and compelling movie. It was a lot of fun to see this in theaters, especially in IMAX. Although I do think The Dark Knight Rises is, out of the three of them, I think it's the most flawed film out of the three. It's got the weakest script. At some points the dialogue was great, and at some points the dialogue was just kind of sloppy. You could see a little sloppy writing here. So the script is the weakest in my opinion of the three, and there's a lot of, people were calling them plot holes, but you can call them dumb plots. The fact that all the police go into the underground, every single cop is underneath there, every single cop chases Bane. Every single cop chases Batman instead of Bane after the stock market exchange. There's a little bit of stupidity in it, and it's not really, maybe it's not stupidity, but it's just comic book-esque type. And what I really enjoyed about The Dark Knight was it was grounded in realism, where this felt more comic booky, and I just didn't care too much for that. The worst thing I hated about this film was just the last 5 minutes of Bane. Wasn't a big fan of the twist, and I like seeing Bane as, the number one villain in this, but he's just kind of a mercenary henchman pansy for the daughter, and of course his going out scene where he gets blown by the bat pod and then Catwoman delivers her one-liner. Wasn't a big fan of that. I didn't think that was really well executed, and I just was shocked, and I was like, did he die? Was that it? So this is a flawed film. but I still really enjoyed this, and it's my number 2. For my number 1, it's going to be, obviously, it's The Dark Knight, and this is personally my favorite movie ever, and really enjoyed watching this movie in theaters. I saw this 4 times in theaters, and I personally think it's one of the greatest, if not the greatest movie of our generation in the 2000s. It's just a phenomenal masterpiece from start to finish. The Dark Knight is kind of like watching The Godfather. You want to see this movie from beginning to end. You don't want to see some other movies you want to skip through scenes and stuff like that to see some good scenes. Well, this is one where you can just watch it from start to finish, and it's just phenomenal from top to bottom. The acting, the supporting cast, the writing, the dialogue, the script is the strongest in The Dark Knight compared to the other two, and I think this movie just excels the other two. I personally thought this was a mile better than Batman Begins, and I think Dark Knight Rises was good, but The Dark Knight is definitively, for me, the best superhero movie ever. Heath Ledger's performance, we all know about it, phenomenal, breathtaking. He won an Academy Award for this. But I think my favorite part of this film is the story arc that revolves around the Harvey Dent character. When I first saw this film, I didn't want Harvey Dent to be in this movie, mainly because I just wanted to see the Batman versus the Joker, my favorite villain. But we got Harvey Dent, and we saw him transform from a white knight, this lawyer, this DA who's great, he's the warrior for the city, to him, losing Rachel and then him flipping a coin, deciding whether somebody should live and die. I mean, turns into Two-Face. But just the whole story arc that revolves around Harvey Dent turning into Two-Face was just phenomenal. They could have made this a 2-movie thing where, Harvey Dent, transforms into Two-Face, and then they show Two-Face as the villain in the next film. But I think this is just perfect. And, of course, Maggie Gyllenhaal as Rachel. Gary Oldman, I think, gives his best performance in this film. Overall, this movie is just great. It's very fast-paced. There's a lot of action sequences going on, too, as well. And, of course, I think the most interesting thing for me, too, is just the whole theme of, corruption and, the mob and, the story that it displays. I think The Dark Knight has the strongest story out of the 3 of them. And, of course, too, you really can't top the Joker's performance. It's almost like Hannibal Lecter's performance in Silence of the Lamb. Just amazing, just breathtaking. But, I mean, you could say that, this movie is the best one because of the Joker, but I think there's a lot of things to this. They introduced the Bat-Pod in this film, and when the Bat-Pod is going through the tunnels, it's pretty sweet. Just phenomenal. Every scene to this, every action scene, and of course the ending is my favorite out of the trilogy. Silent Guardian, A Watchful Protector, The Dark Knight, it's over. You couldn't have ended any better than that. Just great film, 10 out of 10 in my opinion, and the best of the trilogy. Well, what's unique about this trilogy compared to like The Lord of the Rings is how, every movie in The Lord of the Rings kind of feels the same. Every movie in the Dark Knight trilogy feels completely different from the other. They have their own separate tone to it. The Dark Knight feels more of like a crime film, while The Dark Knight Rises feels more like a war film. So every film just feels different. So if your favorite is Batman Begins or The Dark Knight Rises, that's great because they're all different, and there's something different you can enjoy about all 3 of them. But just that's my take on it. Let me know what you guys think. Give me your ranking. Give me your review. What do you guys think about this trilogy? Would you like to see a Batman movie come out sometime soon in the near future? Would you like to see Batman in the Justice League? Personally, I wouldn't. I wouldn't like to see another Batman film for the next 20 to 25 years because Christopher Nolan just hit it out of the park. Great trilogy. Let me know what you guys think. Please comment, guys, and have a great 4th of July. Thanks.